We are the keepers of the flame, the sacred order. Let the ceremony begin.
And today, Paper Acolytes, we take a look at this. And what this is from Hatari. Hatari presents Acid Rain Ghost Hot Sauce. And you can see we've got some nice particulates. I love this color. This color, so I was talking a little bit in the written review available in the blog down below that this reminds me a lot of just like a liquefied version of different dried spices. And actually, visually, I think it kind of looks like that as well. So we've got Hatari Brothers International out of Canada. And, okay, what is this? I really hate this, what they did here with this. Yellow on brown. Mixes normal acid rain with ghost peppers. Okay. So, obviously, they mean the normal acid rain hot sauce. And we've got a language here, which I can't actually identify down here. I understand that the Hatari person or brothers or whoever's doing this originated from Africa, so it may be an African language. And I am definitely not familiar with those. So we have ghost peppers, Hatari peppers, habanero, piquin, ring of fire, which is essentially a cayenne, peri peri, tapin or chiltepin, jalapeno, garlic, ginger, spices, salt, lemon, lime, and orange juices, and vinegar. So they're saying vinegar is dead last in here. And all this other stuff is coming first. And I don't think this is actually following the ingredient label guidance where you're supposed to list it by highest percentage first. Because the odds of a sauce that are as runny as this, having vinegar dead last, to me are pretty low. I tend to disbelieve it. And you can definitely get a good solid hint of the vinegar out of the gate. So you can see there's lots of little particulates in there. Obviously some black pepper of some kind. I think this is a combination of dried pepper powder and either pods or mash. It's probably a mash. I don't think they use fresh pods. Might have though. It is possible. All right. There is a very slight bit of sweetness to this, but this just reminds me of the flavor. I just licked the bottle there. The flavor reminds me a lot of kind of the smell of a taco seasoning. It's reminiscent of that. And you can see this does actually look kind of like a taco sauce to me. It's a sort of orange brownish color. Visually, it looks great. It's a really nice looking sauce. I do enjoy that quite a bit. All right, let's get into it. There's no specific pepper taste. It's more of an overall pepper, sort of a chili powder sort of a thing. Not like commercial chili powder, but just that sort of aspect where it's sort of a vague and undefined chili pepper. You can tell it's obviously chili peppers, but there's no specificity as far as flavor. There is definitely a lot of bitterness, though, whether that is from the ghost. And I don't think ghost is the first ingredient in this, despite what that label says. Whether it is the ghost, super hot, or just the nature of concentrates, dried powders, and so on to just tend to become bitter. when they go through that process. So there's, like I said, a slight hint of sweetness to it, a little bit of a vinegar to it. The juices, the lemon, lime, and orange. So that a lot of this suggests to me like a carne asada type thing, right? There's a lot of those sort of spices, the citrus. Obviously, I don't know what a Hatari pepper is. I've not been able to find any information on that. The Ring of Fire cayenne, again, you can kind of use cayenne pretty ubiquitously. The ghost peppers, outside of some of those things, I mean, you've got a lot of the same ingredients that we go on, like carne asada. I wouldn't say it's a Mexican sauce per se, though. I don't think that's where we're aiming at it. I think they're aiming at a general purpose, ubiquitous sort of everyday sauce is what I think they're going with here. And it works fine as that. I've tried it in a lot of stuff. Tried it in ramen and burgers and everywhere else, and it's been really good. I haven't tried it on Asian food just because a lot of the spices with that, when they interact with some of the spices that tend to be more Mexican sort of aimed at, right? When those two get together, they often will clash. So I was going to do ramen for this actually, but there's a lot of ramen on this channel. There's a whole playlist of it, and I do have it not super frequently, but somewhat frequently. So instead, I decided to go with pizza. And this time I was at the grocery store. Normally I don't get a cheese pizza. This is a 5-cheese pizza, but you can see it looks like they got some buffalo mozzarella on there. And boy, do I love that. So this one I'm curious about. The cheese, I've never had it before. The pepperoni is fine. It's just, I mean, it's essentially your standard pepperoni. Nothing too new under the sun as far as pepperoni. The marinara they use on this pizza I don't love with the pepperoni though. I don't know if it's different for the cheese. I would suspect not, but all right, we're just gonna sauce these babies up. You could there's definitely dried spices here. You get that aspect of the salt and sort of dried spices together. Even though this is in a liquid base, when you initially do that, when you pull all the water out and then attempt to rehydrate it, there isn't enough matter, I guess, to fully do that. So it'll work for things like tacos and stuff like that where you want an amalgamation. Here it's just really, really curious. I mean, I like this sauce quite a bit, but it's really, I guess, kind of fascinating to me how they went about doing this. And actually, for this price point, I don't think that you could put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't think you could have 8 different types of pods if you were doing it from scratch. I don't think that would work out very well. And a lot of this time, a lot of ingredients you'll see where they're trying to be, they're trying to be stealthy, list what's in there, but also not list what's in there, so nobody else can, retcon or reverse engineer it or whatever. And I suspect that's what's going on here. When you get the right sauce, and when you get the right sauce and the warmth of the pizza heats the sauce up just enough, that's magic, man. That was a magic moment right there. I think this is kind of a smart strategy, though. I think a lot of commercial sauces do that same thing. And when you do that, you sort of take out the preponderance of flavor for one particular pepper, which means I think it becomes more universal. Like I said, that's definitely what they're going for here. It's a good sauce. I quite enjoy it. And I would say it is somewhat of an everyday sauce. You could certainly use it, on like scrambled eggs. Or hash browns or fries or what have you. It's fairly neutral in that respect. Where I think it's gonna separate out some of the audience though is that with those ghosties in there, it's right on the border of what I consider a dividing line between normies and chili heads. So, for me, if you look through the different written reviews, that is a 3 on my heat scale. 3 or over, you really start to. It's the beginning of bringing the pain, but it also will start to differentiate who will find it to be an acceptable usage. I gave this a 3 for heat. It probably is too hot for most people, I would think. At least in this quantity. We're going to whip through this and see if we can get it any higher, but I don't think it will. I have done a fair amount of testing on this. And it's nice because, with concentrates, you can impart quite a bit of flavor with not a lot of sauce. Which I'd ask for normies is where a 3 would have some appeal. Whereas I poured a bunch on these pizzas, they could just do with, sprinkling of drops potentially. Oddly, I think I like this cheese pizza. I think the sauce is better than pepperoni though. It seems to play out that a little bit better. This one seemed to have a lot less sauce. And a whole lot more Italian seasoning, like your oreganos and whatnot. A little basil, maybe. And of course, there's garlic in there too, so you can put it almost anywhere. It should be really good in chili. Make them a nice batch of chili. Probably cut out some of the ingredients you normally use. There are definitely additional spices here. I quite like it. Yeah, I mean I would say it's a good flavor, not a great flavor. But it's very solid, especially for the price point. I think this bottle was like $6 or $7. Very, very good deal for that. And I was mentioning too, these trees in this cloud, which I presume to be a reference to the Savannah, I initially thought were mushroom clouds from a nuclear bomb. Just because, we see a lot of references as chili heads that don't make any sense, to like radioactivity and things like that. So I think we're kind of conditioned. There's even a particularly awful sauce calling itself de bomb. Although they mean, I think, in the context of slang rather than an actual weapon. But then again, given how utterly noxious that sauce is, they might mean it as both, possibly. Wouldn't be out of place. I'll just put it that way. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this Hatari Acid Rain Ghost. If this is too hot, you can always dial it back and just use the regular Acid Rain, which only goes to a habanero. And they do have a scorpion pepper version as well, but I'm shying away from scorpion sauces just because I'm tired of the floral nature of the peppers. It's actually ruining my enjoyment for a lot of those sauces. Not always, but enough that I'm shying away from it a little bit. Looking at some of the other super hots out there. And then there's one that has a Reaper and extract that I think they call it face melter or something like that, which sounds just incredibly unpleasant. So there are other sauces, though, from Hatari that I might do some looking into down the road as I come across them. It isn't to the point where I would seek it out, but I definitely am enjoying what I have here, for sure. Yeah, really, really, really solid. Just leave it at that. So there it is, the Hatari Acid Rain Ghost Hot Sauce.
Now go forth in peace to serve the flame.